reasons not to let this slip through our hands. Yeah, every time that we have this talk, it's a little bit hard to admit our faults. But I'm not so perfect. Is all of this worth it? Is all of this worth it? This feeling is fading, and I can't look back and can't catch my breath. It's too hard to let go. It's too hard to let go. To let too hard to let go. To let too hard to let go. Too hard to let go. This feeling is fading, and I can't look back and can't catch my breath. It's too hard to let go. It's too hard to let go. To let
I wish we stayed the same. I got way too many thoughts in my brain. I got memories that run through my veins.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Blue Otter League Platinum Division for Week 6 of competition here. And we got Master McNasty facing off versus First Class. We're moving fast into this draft phase, but Shibby, I just wanted to say it's good to see you once again. Happy to be on the Rift.
You almost started rapping there, Nyako. You're like Master McNasty First Class. We're moving fast through the draft. I see the bars, but as you said, we are going through the draft pretty quickly. Orianna, Zaya off the board. Ari, and Rek'Sai, actually, that's going to be a target ban for Master McNasty's jungler here. But Orianna, pretty standard ban. One of the safer mid lane mages. Synergizes a lot with some of the hard engage that we've seen. Zaya, a must ban, but I'm surprised on blue side. I would surprised you just wouldn't take that yourself and force red side to ban it. Now First Class can take the job in a way. Crucially though, Malphite up, Thresh also available. Probably gonna pair that with the Aphelios unless First Class plan on taking that away here. But a lot of kind of OP champions are still left up on the board right now.
And I just think that speaks to where we are in the meta. It's not necessarily a bad meta. I'm actually having a lot of fun with it, Chibi, but there's a lot of not necessarily must picks, but very, very strong champions with a diverse kind of range of ways to play the game on the table. And I hope to see that variety really reflected in this best of 3. As you're saying, that is going to be a Thresh on B1. Now, First Class have the option of responding right back with a hook champion of their own, and they will in fact do so with the Blitzcrank.
Yeah, I like that. Big body, can stand over the lantern, can hook. If you're good enough, you can hook mid lantern if you really are, up to snuff with your mechanics. But just the fact that you can knock them up, force them into a position where they can't really take lantern, you just have a lot more precedent over the lane. We've been seeing Blitzcrank as like a pseudo soft counter to the Thresh lane, especially if it's like Thresh Aphelios or Thresh Jinx, but they're gonna take that away here. So I suspect that they're gonna go Thresh Aphelios, right? That would be my ideal pairing. Most likely, though, because this is Blue Otter Platinum League, we could just see an Ezreal. I wouldn't be surprised. Could see an Ezreal, could see a Trist. There's so many AD carries still left up on the board right now at the moment. Kai'Sa as well. Varus, a champion that I think is turbo busted at the moment. Still very good on hit or poke, whatever variant you want to go. But they are going to take the Kai'Sa here. Not as much lane presence as the Kai'Sa Nautilus, but allows you to play a little bit more aggressive, allows you to actually dive in with your killer instinct. As long as your Thresh has Lantern up, you have 2 ways of essentially getting out.
And I think that you're going to need that kind of redundancy because of the Blitzcrank pick for first class. But overall, this is a very aggressive bend for Master McNasty, especially as that is going to be rounded up alongside a Vi for the jungle role. Big plays coming through early. They certainly have a very clear direction to go in team fights as well. You're looking for picks. You're looking for the Vi to be able to follow up on Thresh or just dive the backline by themselves. Kaisa going to be able to follow up on either of those engages. Certainly going to be the case that now first class want to match fire with fire to a degree, and they're going to do so by hovering the Wukong.
I like the Vi pick specifically into the Jinx splits, right? A very immobile bot lane. If you get that ulti off, if you're there ready to kind of pounce on them when they engage, it's really hard to get something like the Vi off of you. Also sets up the Killer Instinct follow-up, but Nyarko, you know my thoughts about Wukong. Sheen crushing blows is absolutely devastating, and it's one of those champions that if it gets a kill, if it gets 2 kills in the early game, it will just quite literally run the game over.
And you can say the same about the Jinx as well. So imagine a focused bot side from first class here. Either of those champions picking up the kills versus a Kaisa Thresh, which while they do have escape options, aren't necessarily the most mobile champions early. I think that this is a clear direction that Red Squad can try to focus, especially because you always have that constant engaged threat off of the Blitzcrank. It's kind of an insta fight if you want in a lot of cases. We'll see how Peptic is going to be able to pilot it. Now we're moving on to the second ban phase, and we're going to be seeing a focus towards that mid lane, I'm sure of it. Bongo Bong, Solemn, 2 players trying to make statements here, and it's going to be a Victor knocked away by Master McNasty. First class failures right back, although they're going for a little bit more of a top lane mixed approach because they have the Kled alongside the flex potential of the Akali removed.
Yeah, I mean, Master McNasty took the Rumble away, the one champion that they kind of have to fear for first class's top lane. And I don't say that as if first class top lane can't play other stuff. It's just, you know, I think they're more able to handle some of the more typical matchups that you see. Rumble, one of those champions you don't really see a lot of in solo queue. Not many Rumble players, to be honest. And I think he's in a pretty good spot.
Yep.
Given the priority over dragons, priority over the Rift Herald, right? He thrives in these really small team fights around these enclosed objectives, right? The red carpet can come down and absolutely lay waste to the rest of your team here. But first class, they're going to potentially pick up the tank here for themselves, save mid lane counter pick. That's pretty much what I expected here. Ornn, super solid, very late game orientated. But now I wonder, what is this Wukong going to do? Who is he going to gank for, right? Because top lane, yeah, you've got CC, but you don't really have a lane to play towards because it's so late game focused, right? Bottom lane, yeah, you can hover around it, but you're more playing for the counter gank rather than the actual initial gank onto Thresh Kaisa. So I expect something a little bit more aggressive in the mid lane, something like a very strong mid 2v2. Could go something early game focused like the LeBlanc. Unfortunately, the Ahri is banned here, but there's still a lot of good mid lane picks available and up on the board here. We've been seeing Lysandra for the CC setup, Vex as well. We've seen pop up in Blue Water. Galio is getting locked in very early. So now you open up yourself to a Yone, a Yasuo, something like that to get counterpicked here. I wouldn't be surprised if first class want to take that over, but that would run them into like a very AD heavy team comp.
I still think that you just kind of take that hurt and go for the Yone Yasuo to a degree, Shibby. It's so good given that you have the Ornn knockup, you have the Wukong knockup, and you certainly need a strong lane to play through mid because of the fact that you decided to go for a top lane blind pick of the Ornn, which, while great, is now relegated to a pretty low-powered role, especially early because you're up against a Gwen who has that % max health damage that you could shred through tanks. They're the classic answer to stuff like the Scion and whatnot, but first class are going to go for a different angle in that mid lane role. Instead of going for Solemn on a Yasuo Yone, they are going to receive the Annie for themselves.
A lot of engage coming out from first class. A lot of this damage is gonna have to be pumped out from this Jinx, right? Setting up the knockup, setting up the Ornn horn, right? You have Annie as well for follow-up or direct engage. A lot of these guys, they can just pick and choose fights when they want to, and even if they burn 1 or 2 of the champion's ultimates here, they can take another fight subsequently, like pretty quickly. Blitzcrank as well, liable to just get pulled in, and then you get stun gunned forever, right? By the Annie, by the Ornn, by the Wukong. There's so much CC set up for first class, but the damage is, in my opinion, just a little bit lacking. Late game, it's weird. Generally, you would give it to the Jinx and Ornn, but you've got a Gwen staring down at you from Master McNasty's team composition, and she's gonna scale so well into these tanks. she eventually just destroys side lane, and it can be really rough to match her if you're somebody like Annie, if you're somebody like Ornn, these immobile champions that'll just get hunted down pretty much by the Ghost Gwen. And if she has complete control over that lane, if she's allowed to free farm, if she's not pressured at all, you don't have to win team fights if you're Master McNasty. You can just split and pick and pull this team apart. I like the Vi Galio synergy that you have, but you don't necessarily have to dive in onto the Jinx if you don't want to. Gwen is perfectly fine being in her solo lane and just causing a whole bunch of pressure and just creating problems for first class.
Chibi, I don't know if it was with you, but I've certainly joked, or only semi-joked, because I genuinely do believe it in the past, that you can just pick Ornn blind in a lot of team compositions, and I think it's right. I have like a whole hour-long presentation prepared in my mind about it. The thing is, part of that presentation, there's a whole slide dedicated to it, is ban Gwen, ban similar champions like this that scale similar to you, but just broadly have a far easier time actually laning well. And unfortunately for the side of first class, they have failed in that homework. Sylvezery is going to be on that Gwen, going to be a very strong carry threat for the team. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Quantum also takes a few trips up there, you know? Obviously, the Wukong is going to be pulled a little bit towards the Jinx split screen because of all the pick potential that the Blitz always has. But at the same time, like you're saying, it's hard for the Wukong themselves to pull the trigger. They either need a really good rocket grab, or they need the Vi to come through and initiate a game first so that they can then counter it. And if you just deny that opportunity by making this Ornn's life a living hell, I think that there's a very clear pathway forward by which Master McNasty take this game number one.
Yeah, I think it's really up to this top lane, right? Because you've drafted pretty much utility mid. Vi's not going to be doing too much post level, like after post level 6 and 2 items, right? She's going to start falling behind from the Wukong. Wukong's an immensely good scaler, right? Give him 2-3 items, give him 4 items. He just gets stronger and stronger and stronger. His passive is really, really disgusting in these team fights. You have a dive oriented composition, and it really hinges on this Kai'Sa Vi. Galio is just there to prevent stuff like the Annie, to prevent stuff like the Wukong just walking up and getting a knock-up for free, right? He dives in after, kind of like this protective bodyguard. Thresh is solely designed to get Kai'Sa or Vi out of there and CC any flankers. Realistically, Gwen's gonna have to get a really good angle if she wants to participate in these fights, a massive flank angle, or like we mentioned, she's just going to side lane. She's going to consistently just cause pressure, force somebody from first class, whether it be the bottom lane to match her, whether it be the Ornn to match her, or whether it be the Annie, and just pick apart that hard engage that first class have. Because I feel like as 5, first class, their team comp works very, very well. Once you start picking and pulling pieces away, that's where Master McNasty can go, okay, we have 3 dive champions. Jinx is the target. They don't have their Ornn. They don't have this counterpunch. They don't have that big of a counter engage. Let's kill her and then back out.
It's first class of the day. We got Master McNasty here, and it's Professor Shibby giving the homework over to this team, telling them what they need to do to take it up against the team that sits right above them inside of the Blue Otter League standings. These are 2 very evenly matched opponents going off against one another for this game number 1. And Shibby, I think that these are the drafts to really make a statement about how they're looking to play the rest of their season out. We're going to throw it to a quick break to wait out the rest of the spectator delay, but guys, we're going to be right back with game number 1.
listen to me speak, but just say what you want. What words will you keep? The ones that cause us harm. You assume the worst, but that is yet to come. Because you caused it first, and now we've come undone. Caught up in trying to find a problem. Why do we lose our minds, sending us before we try? Fed up with trying to fix our problems. Why do we lose our minds, sending us before we try? Why do we lose our minds, sending us before we try? Why do we lose our minds, sending us before we try? Caught up in trying to find a problem. Why do we lose our minds, sending us before we try? Fed up with trying to fix our problems. Why do we lose our minds, lose our minds? But between the lines, because you bent the truth. Now it's hard to find a place for me and you. I know you're paranoid, but that does not excuse the way we've paved a void and made ourselves confused. Why do we lose our minds, sending us before we try?
Hello, friends, and welcome back. It is going to be the first game of the night, setting up on the Rift. Master McNasty, first class, going at it. Gonna for just 5 points. There's no invade. I guess that when you have two hook champions in the game, Shibby, it just kind of cancels out if they're on either side. So that'll be a Blitzcrank sitting up in a bush. That is going to be a Thresh just standing confidently, waiting for the Blitz to walk at them. And therefore, we have a stalemate starting us off on the Rift.
Yeah, it's almost like, you know, I know what you're thinking, and you know what I'm thinking. So then we both don't do what we think we're gonna do, right? It's really, yeah, like you said, it can be really disgusting if like you're the Blitz team, you're walking in, and the rest of the other team is just stacked up on a bush, right? You can just lose the game out right there, right? 3, 4 kills, 5 kills go over, you get aced before 2 minutes. That just puts a sour mood in laning phase. That just puts a sour mood for your team. Summoners get blown. So I think not doing the expected is actually probably the safer route here for both of these teams. Interestingly enough, no wards really placed down. We did see a defensive ward come out from first class here onto their red buff. Not going to provide them too much information. Rather, it's just going to be like if the Vi is going for some shenanigans, maybe vertical jungling, looking to do anything, then Quantum will get spotted out here. But he's going to start bot side. Both of these bot lanes are going to enter late. So realistically, they should know, hey, both Vi and Wukong have started on their respective bot lane buffs.
And I still think that even with that vision there, Master McNasty has the ability to send their jungler in for a little bit of an invade. The classic thing to do is just queue over that Rift Herald wall. And the way that you walk around to the red buff means that Quantum could theoretically be there. Obviously, we know that they aren't, but Shibby, that's something that Truist still has to watch out for. But I imagine because of the double late side start, like you're talking about in the bot lane, that everybody kind of knows where these junglers are going to start pushing first.
Yeah. I mean, that's what's expected, right, Nyarko? Everybody expects, hey, they started bot side. Hey, 2 minutes, 45 seconds. We're going to be expecting a jungler to gank, right? You throw the ward down. But people still get ganked. Happens even at the highest level. Pro players will die as Peptic does get hooked here. Relatively free trade, and that's kind of how you want to win this lane if you're the Thresh in this matchup. You go for a hook. You don't fly in with your flay. Instead, you just try to flay at max distance, get a really short, bursty trade out with your ADC, and just by the time Peptic is ready to hook, if he's at half health or under, he's just sending himself for a death wish.
It certainly is a little bit of a skill matchup, though, because I believe that just because of the speed of the Rocket Ram, hold that thought. We got Quantum having to flash over the wall. Truist with a really good invade. And so, you know, their jungle tracking was, in fact, on point, Shibby. That was just not the opening volley I was expecting to see between these two junglers.
Yeah, really odd, too. You saw the pathing coming out from Quantum here. He went red into Krugs, into Raptors, then took Wolves. Gromp didn't even opt in to take his blue at all. While you look at what Truist did, he did a 4-camp into straight invade, trying to catch Vi, potentially with that slow clear speed. Opted up to give the camp away, but eventually picked up the Gromp, gets the camp lead here, and now is doing fine.
And getting Wukong this early start, I think, is really valuable. And because you're going to need it to a degree to really get in under some of these relatively tanky champions that Master McNasty has. That being said, Quantum is actually going to set up with a big Q. Solemn gets immediately ignited, but I think the Annie with Flash just gets away.
Yeah, and Quantum's got to be hitting himself in the head there. If he had Flash instead of burning it with that Wukong invade, he would have been killing any dead to rights here. So good job for Solemn. Good job avoiding the gank and not just prototypically flashing towards his turret, right? Flashing away, flashing towards the Wukong in case the follow-up is needed. And luckily, Bongo and Quantum understand that, hey, she's gone. We're not going to be able to catch her. And right now, I have no clue where this Wukong is.
Great call by First Class. A lot of really sharp thinking right in the moment there from Solemn to get them out alive. Top side of the map now, we're zooming in on two champions who certainly are taking deep trades against one another. I think it's really going to be a contention for level 6, but honestly, there is a chance that either of them exhibit kill pressure versus the other, especially if you get a few more hits in before those ultimates are crested.
Yeah, and I'm really looking towards Bongo's level 6, right? I've said this time and time again with these semi-globals or global ultimates as Bruiser. He's going to go on to Skull here. I don't know. Gwen is just playing on the edge. My God, with that much HP, the confidence to take that engage. Really, really well played from Skull here. But like I was going to say, I'm really banking on this very first ultimate from Galio. Same thing with TF, same thing with Nocturne. This first ultimate really dictates and puts your team on the map if you can successfully get off a gank here. Not just burn summoners, but get kills, right? Use it for that dragon. Get a big Nappa. Get your team that 300-400 gold. That's now Solemn on the repeat gank again.
Just utterly disrespectful from Solemn, not quite level 6, and Quantum is just able to follow up beautifully on the taunt that Bongo Bong brings to the table. So, Shibby, it's not even an ult that's starting to set the pace for this game. It's just a straight up walk in and kill somebody that Master McNasty is going to get a lead off of.
Yeah, that's really weird because Quantum came from that bot side, and you can see the ward in the pixel bush right there near the dragon. I'm surprised either Quantum may have played around that vision, snuck in, or Solemn is just sleeping on the wheel, realistically.
And that creates a very awkward situation where the Annie is going to be vulnerable to more ganks. Sure, they will get Tebrus very soon, but Bongo Bong still has ultimate available, and Quantum has proven that they can gank this lane now that the Annie doesn't have flash available. It's just so easy for the Vi to run them down. And so I would imagine that now Truist is going to be forced to kind of hover this side of the map before we see any amount of time that the Wukong can spend really shoring up the bot lane, trying to maybe get Bruiser back into contention with Skull Vesri, or even going for a neutral objective.
Yeah, and we pointed towards this top lane for Master McNasty. They're going to be the ones to have to kind of take control of the game. They're going to have to be able to cause pressure because right now you've got a utility mid, not going to pump out tons of damage here. Quantum theoretically will get scaled out by Truist, but it doesn't matter if you accelerate the pace of the game. If you just put so much pressure in bot that Solemn and Truist can't even keep up, right? Quantum and Bongo are just going to be so far ahead of the damage curve, so far ahead of everything that it doesn't matter if they have the champions that scale a little bit worse relative to their opponents. If they're so far ahead, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 gold, they're making plays on the map and capitalizing on objectives, they could end this game before, the ornaments come online, before the Jinx come online, before the Wukong starts scaling, and they could just realistically go out to a 1-0 lead.
Skull Vesri is going to get hit by the headbutt, and now by the second charge of the Call of the Forge God, they're going low. They're trying to kite back Truist and company. Cyclone is utilized. Wukong goes way too deep, and it's yet again First Class guy is falling asleep at the wheel. Now the cross map is going to be set up. Peace Pipe is just run down Bongo Bong, ulting on in. Can't quite get the taunt onto Peptic, and while the Blitzcrank does manage to get some damage back onto the Galio with that yoink under a tower, this is all coming up in favor of blue side.
Yeah, Master McNasty here gets a nice little freebie in the top lane. Truist ints a little too hard there with his flash. That then is the trigger for Quantum to go, okay, we're going to gank bot. Peace Pipe, you're absolutely dead to rights because we've got Thresh, we've got Killer Instinct, and we've got Assault and Battery ready to go. And by the way, even if you escape all of that, we've got a Galio ulting being jumped right on top of your head here. So they guarantee that 80 carry kill in the bot lane. They get the dragon early, and they go out to a nice 1,000 gold lead.
And poor Bruiser Shibby. This Ornn has already had it hard enough versus a Gwen, which is very clearly a counter matchup that Master McNasty is comfortable with. But now it's the case that the Gwen's been donated gold and Bruiser has gotten nothing back in return.
Yeah, I mean, that's quite possibly the best language you can use. Simply gifted, simply donated. Didn't really have to work too hard for that kill, right? Walked back, and that's all you had to do, realistically. Got some of that ultimate damage off. Tower pretty much did the rest for Master McNasty here. Really well played. I'm surprised Truist went in. Didn't have the auto reset, didn't have the extended range with the crushing blows. Was maybe looking to get something off there, maybe one more last auto or maybe one more Nimbus strike. Unfortunately, Bruiser wasn't also there to follow up. So 3-0 for Master McNasty. 1,000 gold is not that much, right? It's nothing to scoff about, but still, it's 10 minutes in. You've got scaling elements for first class, but if Master McNasty just keep pulling the trigger and are just firing on all cylinders like they're doing right now, they're going to go out to a very nice lead, and I don't think first class is going to be able to keep up.
Not at all. We'll have to see exactly how Master McNasty want to try to use this early game to their advantage now. Obviously, Gwen is nowhere near scaled nor set up to really just dominate alone. She needs one or two items to truly come into her own right as a super valued member of the team. Although they have been given kind of a golden road by which to do so because of the fact that Truist has got them started on the scaling early. That being said, this could finally be a triumphant return up top side for the Wukong. They have a Cyclone yet again. Needlework is used, but now the Gwen has really no escape. Quantum comes in, but honestly, they have to be lucky that there isn't a re-engage there from Bruiser and company, because that could have been a dead buy as well. One traded back, first class in a much better position now.
Yeah, Quantum just a little bit late for that counter gank. Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't go for the Assault and Battery onto the Ornn. I thought I saw the Bellows Breath come out, so I don't think it would have gotten, immunity or unbreakable there. But just opting in, not wanting to give 2 kills over to the Wukong, I think that's the smart choice, because he's already gotten 1 kill. He's already on the Sheen Caulfield Hammer. Right now, Quantum is slightly ahead of this Wukong here. I think he wants to keep that lead. And regardless of what happens, they understand that the back timers are happening. Bongo's laning pretty damn well into Solemn at the moment. So with that back timing, even though they weren't there for the gank, the counter gank, they're still able to pick up the Rift Herald simply because Bruiser and Truist burned all their ultimates. They're down to half HP. So even if they try to contest it, they would have died.
And now the question is, where do you want this Rift Herald to be dropped? Because Shibby, there's a few separate arguments I can see for Master McNasty. They could push down this top side of the map, keep getting that Gwen the momentum necessary for them to carry the game late. But also at the same time, I think that Chess Die and NYC Hawk would really also benefit from the attention of the buy. However, it will be donated first to the top side of the map. Quantum is at least trying to take down Bruiser, although without the needlework available, Skull Vezri just doesn't really have the damage. We'll see if they still want to drop the Shelly, though.
Smart from Bruiser to hold the Bellows Breath, though, right? Tanks the Q outright. Yeah, loses a good chunk of his effective HP here, but just saved it. Just in case the Assault and Battery were to come out, he would have been able to immune it. Has to leave the turret, though. Can't really do much here. Probably a third of a dive. A Galio Roam is up here. 3v1. Not the best of odds for Bruiser. He's going to get full health, then TP back in. He's just going to lose the turret. That's a free TP. They might just be able to kill him after this turret goes down.
Well, Vezri is taking quite a bit of poke damage, and because that one turret shot goes over, it does mean that Master McNasty does have to retreat. Bongo Bong is pulled up to defend the Gwen as they walk back towards the tower, but it all in all is a very successful heist for Blue Squad. First class, lose that summoner spell off of Bruiser, and honestly, the Ornn is going to have to play super respectfully from here on out. Gwen did ghost away, but still has the ability to get back to lane relatively quickly because of the skip and slash, and so while we are seeing first class clear out the top side enemy jungle as a response, I think that this is clearly the influx of gold necessary for Master McNasty to then go down, contest a second Drake, and from there really make this game their own.
It's really odd, too. Despite all the kind of positive plays that Master McNasty has been making, they've really, realistically, only jumped their gold lead by about 500 here, right? It went from 1,000 to 1.5. Surprisingly enough, despite everything that's happened, first tower gold, first turret, their team is still relatively close in gold, and that might just be to some of the CS discrepancy, some of the gold that was handed over regards into assist and kills, but I am surprised. 3-1 scoreline, first turret, first Rift Herald, first Dragon. I feel like Master McNasty should be so much farther ahead.
It's like Huey Lewis in the news said in Back to the Future. That's the power of farm. First Class is basically just sending Truist into their own jungle. They're clearing out enemy camps as well really nicely as a response to the plays that Quantum is making very proactively on the Vi. And that does mean that as a whole, Red Squad is hanging quite well. They could look for some of those big 5v5s that you said that this team specializes in. And in fact, they may even try to contest this Dragon. Peptic sure is walking up. They have Truist at their back, but no, without the Annie there, nor the Ornn available, it looks like for the time being, Master McNasty are just going to go up to Drakes, and that's an Ocean Soul that they're going to start to pressure.
Yeah, you're taking a peek at the gold lead here. Realistically, Quantum is ahead with the kills, right? About 600 gold. Obviously, Top is up about 1,000 as well here. So now we see that gold lead coming into fruition. Now it's about 1.5 thousand gold. The two biggest holders for Master McNasty are the Gwen, are the Vi here. Yes, Galio is slightly ahead of Solemn by about 100. Realistically, though, Chess Die is down about 300 gold to Peace Pipe. So all in all, despite kind of the rough early game from First Class, they come out of it. They're down to objectives. They're down mid lane and top lane turret, but it's not like an unwinnable situation for them.
Don't need dragons. Don't need ganks. You know, it's going quite well for First Class, all things considered, especially because they have their own scaling threats. I know we focus pretty heavily on the Gwen, but, you know, a Jinx exists on First Class's side, right? And as you said, even Truist, who's been actually able to keep up with the pace to Quantum in terms of income quite nicely, is going to be a huge threat. Bruiser might be in a little bit of trouble here, still has the health bar to where Skull Veziri can't necessarily solo take down this champion. Truist is now moving into the area topside as well, so we'll see if anything comes of that. Right now, Bongo Bong may also look for an engage. It's Wildness across the rift, as that is Cyclone activated. Skull Veziri can't even make it back towards the tower, but Solomon, a very similar situation. They try to flash the wall, but unfortunately, Bongo Bong has a summoner spell of their own to follow right up, and they will kill the Annie in return.
A nice 1-for-1 overall. I think Master McNasty just, if they're not one step ahead, they're at least even, right? If you're going to kill their top lane, we're going to kill your bottom lane, right? We're going to kill one of your solo lanes. We're going to force something here. And Master McNasty, despite not having a massive gold lead, they've just been playing really, really just solid. I hate to say it, fundamental League of Legends, right? Use the Rift Herald, take it top. Oh, we see the jungler top. We're going to take bottom lane. We're going to kill the AD carry. Then we're going to take the dragon. We're stacking our dragons. We're going to be on pace for about a 23 to 24 minute soul here. Oh, we have the numbers advantage mid. Let's take mid lane tier 2, right? It's just all across the board. They're not doing anything flashy. They're not doing anything fancy. They're just out maneuvering and just out, I would say, fundamentaling First Class here on on this League of Legends game here.
And even there, we're seeing that exact kind of textbook play come through. Bongo Bong rotating in, scaring Truist, getting a taunt, although the Wukong with the Warrior Trickster does get over the wall first. But Chess Die, because they're with a Thresh, are just able to hammer away at this tier 2 tower. This is going to be another one going over to Master McNasty. And while I think Bruiser will be able to cross-map this and get some gold for themselves, overall, I do think that Blue Squad is making the most out of this mid-game. They're doing a great job building upon the foundation that they've established off those two dragons, off the first Rift Herald take as well. And this game is going swimmingly for them. I want to see some big clashes out of First Class now to really get them back into this.
Yeah, I think if Master McNasty plays this well, they'll never actually opt in for a 5v5, right? As Quantum is looking to get out of here, gets his ultimate interrupted.
And so while we may not be seeing a 5v5, First Class certainly can get their picks. They are able to just run down the Vi, get them to safety. Bongo Bong wants to wrap around, but they're spotted out on a ward, and they got to be careful because here comes Peptic, and Jinx is also able to follow up. Rocket Grab is going to land true. The Galio can't even get out because of the Flame Chompers. Bruiser is a little bit isolated on the far end of this one, but Seahawk just doesn't have any amount of follow-up from Chess Die because of all the Red Squad members in the topside jungle. Now, that kill score is evened up alongside the gold.
Yeah, wow, in a matter of seconds, what was a 1.5, almost 2,000 gold lead, 2 easy kills, a nice pickup in the top lane for them with the turret. Now they're going to pick up this Herald, and they're going to be dead even in gold here. Bongo and Quantum here just get caught out once again in their own jungle. The pick potential, like you mentioned, with this Wukong, with the Blitzcrank, it is still very much there. So they have to play like, you know, if they don't see people on the map, if they don't know where the Blitz is, they don't know where the Wukong is, play a little bit apprehensively. Use your spells to check some of these bushes, or at least send Seahawk in there so you don't give too much away, right? But you've lost your jungler and your mid laner, two of the most important pieces for this dive comp to work.
And now Truce has rocketed ahead about many people versus Master McNasty. 3-1-1 on the Wukong means that this champion is able to make the impact that you've been alluding to in the jungle role, Shibby. Sure, they didn't have the greatest presence on the map early, but they got enough done. And now this is Red Squad setting up to try to stop the dragon stacking from Master McNasty. If they could grab this one, and if they can make a fight happen in their favor because they have everybody here, this certainly could be the turn of the game.
Oh, Bruiser is just 1v1ing Bongo here, but I want to see what this Blitz does. A really nice hook could just turn this fight around, but they're going to opt in to go into Bongo, but they're not watching their backsides,
Not at all. Sylvestre closing in with the needlework and tearing up the fight. Bongo Bong able to relocate with their ultimate, and that's the Wukong already dead. Peace Pipe does get excited off of killing the Gwen. However, Blue Squad as a whole are able to rally, push back against the Timber, and get most of their champions to safety. Vi goes low, so this won't be an immediate take of the dragon, but as it currently stands, Master McNasty comes out 1-2 in their favor.
Yeah, they take out the Blitz, they take out the Wukong here, but Bruiser still is very healthy on this EHP lead. Chestai could go in for something, but he just doesn't have the front line. He doesn't have the members here for him to have the space to work within these team fights. So overall, you won the objective fight, but you can't get the objective because you just didn't burn that tank down fast enough. So, Nyarko, we are very quickly going to see another fight coming in. Bruiser does have the TP up, so he's going to be able to back TP back into here. Bongo used the ultimate. He's got to walk himself all the way back here. As we've been talking, though, Assault and Battery is back up. Needlework is back up. Killer Instinct was not even used in that fight. Bongo and Thresh are the only two people without ultimates for the side of Master McNasty.
And that's a huge hook. Seahawk is just dead. The Thresh had no health, had no ability to go back either after that fight. And so while this is super favorable for first class, Bongo Bong is trying to turn around with a huge three-man taunt. Unfortunately, there's just no follow-up damage anymore. The Gwen doesn't have needlework. Truist is able to run them down. Chestai is also going to fall to the monkey man. And first class immediately fire right back.
Yeah, a bit of overzealousness from Master McNasty here. They thought they had enough ultimates. They thought they had enough champions here, but your Gwen is still an item down from her, core build, right? She still needs to pick up that Stinger, that Gnasher's Tooth. Quantum as well had the Assault and Baton ready, but really, you need to have Galio ultimate for this to work. You dive in on the Vi, onto the immobile AD carry, Galio comes swooping in from the top, and then the Killer Instinct will come in. Unfortunately, Bongo had to walk himself into that fight, had to flash in, couldn't really get the damage nor the utility from his ultimate out onto the field here. So first class will 100% take that fight. They've got Cyclone, they've got Tibbers, they had a Jinx Rocket in the back pocket, ready if anybody was low enough.
And we're in a situation where now first class's scaling threats truly have come online. 22 minutes into the game, the gold lead is back in their favor. They've interrupted the win condition to Master McNasty. I'll say it outright here, Shibby. They needed that third dragon to force further fights and I think get themselves some favorable 5v5s because first class are the team fighting composition and we're in a lot of situations where Seahawk is just having to work as kind of a frontliner more so than a pick machine. Although, as I say that, they are going to get a really good death sentence down onto Solemn, and that is now an X-Annie around this Baron Nashor.
Yeah, really nice pick. Not the same effectiveness in terms of Blitzcrank where it kind of pulls you in, but CCs you long enough and your team is there. That's where this kind of composition works out, where you get somebody outright, you get them with the Thresh Hook, and then you just kill them completely.
And it's so weird because Peptic is on the Blitzcrank, you would imagine that first class would be the pick composition, but they certainly are just looking to group in duel. It's now much more on the back of Seahawk that we see Master McNasty moving out of vision of the enemy, trying to find an angle. They could actually get another one sitting in this pixel bush, although it looks like they just wanted to channel the back first.
Yeah, and one of the most chaotic things about Blitzcrank is that you can miss 20 hooks, 30 hooks. But if you hit that one hook onto the Kaisa, onto the Vi, right? When they're not expecting it, your team is ready, that swings the fight completely in your favor. The Thresh Hook is a little bit different. Yes, you can hit it, but it's not a guaranteed kill. As Bruiser is just going to get walked down.
And that looked close for just a second. I thought that Skolvezri might have been in trouble, but that life gain from the Rift Maker is really starting to come through. And Master McNasty cross maps this really well. Now, with the teleport being channeled, it looks like Blue Squad just wants to run down the Baron.
They saw Truist on the wave. My God, Skull went into the bush, TP'd to the Baron. Very, very smart play from McNasty here. They saw Wukong down there ready for the gank. Immediately TP's up top. No one is there to contest the Baron. Very smart play from this team.
And that is not a Baron throw, and that is not the dynamic I was thinking I was going to see at the 24-minute mark here in this game, Shibby. I've been conditioned by the BOL to see teams absolutely sell it down the river at that neutral objective, but no, that was one of the cleanest plays I've seen out of a representative of the BOL Platinum division. Master McNasty are right back in this. Even as some towers have gone down, First Class has not really been able to do much besides equalize that score, and now with Perma Prio, I think that Master McNasty, if they could get a few more kills, get right back into this game, they could go back on that soul train as well, and things are all coming up in their favor.
And that's how you use that Gwen pressure, right? We talked about how detrimental it can be in the laning phase. God forbid she gets out with the Rift Maker, with the Nashors. She is just a menace in these side lanes. You kill somebody, you immediately transfer all that pressure into that Baron, pick that up, and now stick her back in that side lane, force somebody from First Class, force one of the stronger members who's very, very strong in that engage to match her here. She's going to be completely fine. She can take a couple spells. She can take your turret. She has the Rift Maker. She's got the Conqueror in hand. And if you try to fight her 1v1, you will just quite outright get killed.
Being said, there is an argument that Skolvezri needed to cover this top side because the Orange just walks up and gets a split push of their own off, and now mid lane, Master McNasty's in a little bit of trouble. Truist not going to quite pull the trigger. They had the flash ultimate available, but I guess they were afraid of the damage that Master McNasty are packing right now, and so they will just use this bounce back time to try to get the wave reset and maybe get a little bit of priority over this river so they can contest the dragon.
And now we see kind of, oh, wait a minute, a hook onto Bruiser here.
He just walks it off.
Yeah, he should be fine. I was scared. I thought the follow-up was going to be there. But now we kind of see, what does First Class do? They're in a pickle. Now the fight gets forced onto them.
Yeah, Skolvezri, we saw this engage before, and it worked so well, the slowing off the needle, where it means that Peptic is already less than half health. Quantum's gonna hit the season to cease deep into the enemy backline. Galio follows up, but maybe Blue Squad went a little bit too deep. Peace Pipe is taken down. Peptic also dead, so it looks like it's paying off as now Bruiser is skedaddling away down towards the bot side with the Gwen chasing them all the while. And all of a sudden, this game is busted wide open. Master McNasty, they've gotten that desired play around the dragon, and while Skolvezri has now bit off a little bit more than they could chew, with Truist covering them coming out of stasis, this does mean that the Monkey Man is miles away from the third dragon of the game.
Yeah, nobody can check this up. So now, Master McNasty, we saw the combination come into fruition. Quantum dives in with the Vi ultimate. Galio gets layered on top. Once that hits, you saw Chess go directly for this Jinx, bursted her out completely with the full Q from the Kaisa here. And now she's fed, she's farmed, she's got Kraken Slayer, she's got Navori. She is gonna burst you out the moment you get caught up on all the CC, and the rest was history. I talked about First Class's lack of damage coming out from this composition, and when you lose Jinx like that, there realistically just is no counterplay. It's Vi ult into Galio ult into Killer Instinct into you're dead.
And it's so weird that right now we're seeing Bruiser decide to give Deicide over to Truist rather than emphasizing Peace Pipe, who is secretly actually very strong. They have more gold at this point in time than Chestai, but they will be reduced in their power until they manage to grab an ornament for themselves.
Yeah, the fact that there's not too much going on here, I don't even see upgraded here. It's only the Divine Sunder at the moment. Kraken Slayer or Wyvern Slayer won't be up for this Peace Pipe here, but it might be too little too late. I think the ornaments, although they will provide some extra gold value, what do you do against this composition if you're Peace Pipe? You don't have Gale Force, your Flash isn't up, your Ghost isn't up, you don't even have a Thresh for yourself to kind of lantern you out here. Solemn and Truist aren't even prepared for the counter engagement. They don't have the damage. This is an Annie with Leandries and Shadow Flame. The burst isn't there. This is more about burning these tanks down that are the Galio, that are the Thresh, that potentially is the Vi who's stacking that HP. So you're not having that quick burst to say, hey, if you dive in Vi, you have to be threatened that we're going to kill you. It just, not saying it looks unwinnable, but First Class, they have to be the initiators. They have to be one starting fights on their terms, because if they allow Master McNasty to set up, prep, let the Vi get in, let the Galio get in, it's too little too late.
I think it's a matter of needing a little bit of a role reversal for First Class's play dynamics, right? They can't be the one setting up for 5v5s anymore because Master McNasty has fully gotten themselves into team fighting mode because of the amount of gold centered on Quantum and Bongo Bong as initiators, and Skull Vezri also themselves able to like create really good fight patterns for Blue Squad just by actually working kind of as a pseudo frontline with their needlework. Now, I think it's up to Peptic on the Blitzcrank to do what Seahawk has been doing for a lot of this first game, get some crucial grabs of their own before the fights begin in full, and from there I think Red Squad can bounce back, but they have to do so soon because otherwise Skull Vezri is just going to run around the map and grab towers left, right, and center as we see them pressuring Bruiser on the spot side.
Yeah, and with Bruiser matching this Gwen, what frontline do you have for First Class? It's not the Wukong, it's not the Blitz here. So now you lose out on that big, beefy tank that's going to make space for your Jinx. It's going to give them time to work, give them room to work. But Skull is on 3 items, got the Zanyas in hand as well. She is so strong on this Gwen right now. I don't know if Bruiser alone can match this, as now the hook comes in. Peptic gets the hook.
Yeah, I think Seahawk is just dead, and what's valuable here is that Peace Pipe is excited early in this fight. If we could see further follow-up, Red Squad could make something happen here, but unfortunately for them, Master McNasty knows exactly what's cooking. They back off, they buy space, and now, after the passive is over, they're gonna go for the engage, and now Peace Pipe is just so far away from the rest of their team, they get run down by the cease and desist. Although that being said, First Class do have quite a bit of damage. Solemn also here. Killer Instinct activated by Chestai, trying to burst down Bruiser. They're not able to quite get it. Quantum may be caught out with the Timberwolves burning them down as well. The Ornn is able to stay inside of this fight with the Vi dead. First Class could push back down mid lane.
Yeah, a little rough from Master McNasty here. They burned all of their cooldowns onto the innings. They thought they could fight more, but the counterpunch coming out from Truist, from Bruiser, the rest of them were there. They just had the HP lead. Quite frankly, they were able to stay in that fight and stick in the pocket just a little bit longer. Bongo, Quantum, and Chestai got bursted out, and Solemn slowly but surely is coming online with this Annie. The Timbers is doing work, all the ability damage doing work, and you forgot Truist is going to be scaling. Is 3 items now: Black Cleaver, Death Stance, and the Divine Sunderer in hand, or sorry, the Deicide in hand.
We got the Deicide, we got the Wormfallen Sacrifice on Peace Pipe now, so that champion as well is going to be immensely powerful. We cannot afford to see First Class make more of those mispositionings with their Jinx, though. That's something to note. Their AD carry has a huge burden on their back to be the damage to push through onto Master McNasty's bigger carry threats. I think that was a situation where Skull Vezri simply overextended. They too, alongside Quantum, were sent back to the fountain, but now in a little bit more even of footing around something like the Dragon, this could be a rough one for First Class if they aren't careful. However, Truist is on the flank of a lifetime, and they're just locking up the buy. Cease and desist activated, but Warrior Trickster means that the Monkey Man is able to pull so many ultimates their way. So Vezri's trying to do something on the backline, but they're locked up by 4 members. Death Sentence lands down onto Peptic, but that's not who you want to be hitting, because you aren't rescuing the Gwen with that kind of play. Peace Pipe now gets excited. Bongo Bong trying to dive in, but they're just getting run down. They go golden, but they die as soon as they emerge from the stasis. Seahawk trying to do what they can with their Flame of Ice Face for Chestai, but they are unable to make it work. And First Class rally. They stop the Soul, and now they are ahead in this game.
They stop the Soul. They can turn their head towards the Baron as well, which is going to be on the menu here. They stack 2 Oceans. They're going to go for the Baron. Just an absolute split fight coming out. So many cooldowns and so many abilities got thrown the way of Truist, and he baited so many out with that clone. At that time, once you're not comboing, once you're not sticking to the sauce, if you're trying to freestyle the way Master McNasty did, and you try to use these ultimates not in conjunction, you saw how quickly this composition falls apart. Galio was ulting onto the Gwen, who was trying to solo 1v4. Wukong wasn't dying. The Assault and Battery wasn't there. Chess couldn't go in, and so now First Class got to pick and pull and choose. Oh, we're gonna kill this person first. We're gonna take them. Oh, Peptic lands a hook. All right, this person's dead as well. And unfortunately, Seahawk can't really do anything, right? He can throw a hook, he can flay, but his lantern is the most crucial part of this composition. And if he can't use it to get somebody out of a sticky situation, he's gonna be dead to rights.
And it's so crazy to think that Truist made a brilliant call to go onto the Vi of all people. Because Quantum's not there, it makes the combo with Bongo Bong on the Galio so much less effective. And as you were saying, the fight was split. It was up to Skull Vezri to try to work as dive. And while they have been successful in doing so up until this point, you can't do it into 4 members. I don't care how fed your Gwen is, right? It is, to a degree, a single target champion, or a champion that is looking to scamper around the map and make split push calls. A team fighter they are not in a lot of cases, and because that is the case, First Class are going to make the first big swing in the gold lead of this game, all the way at the 33-minute mark, although now Truist may be in a little bit of trouble. I spoke too soon, though. They, in fact, maybe want to go back in on this.
Yeah, this Wukong is so strong. This is the scaling advantage that we talked about for First Class here. Wukong just completely outvaluing Vi as a champion, as a jungler, and with items here. Ornaments are finally coming in. Everything is upgraded on the side of First Class here. The support item, the mid lane item, the AD carry, and the jungle item here. So they're at their strongest right now in First Class. They're gonna play Siege with the Blitz, right? You can't stand under these turrets, because if you get hooked, you will die.
And you will lose the game off of it. And so, Master McNasty, play respectfully. I like the call. They just allow this inhibitor to go down. This will be a little bit more farm for Chestai to try to make it back up versus the Jinx, but that time may have already passed. Peace Pipe is disgustingly ahead in this game, and First Class in general have found such beautiful purchase in this match, so deep on into what was a close game.
Yeah, it was even for most of the game. Master McNasty had a lead at one point. First Class tilted it towards their favor a little bit in that mid game, but then Master McNasty just took really, really good fights through and through and through. But what one mistake around that dragon, that one split fight, turned the gold on its head. It was 5,000 now. Now it's going to be about 7,000 here for First Class. The saving grace for Master McNasty is that their team fight or their composition is still very easy to execute. It's still very, very simple, right? You go on to Peace Pipe, who has now the Guardian Angel. It's going to be a little bit rougher to kind of take down twice in a row, but you've got Gwen for split push. And if they're forcing Truist there, then you kind of have to pull the trigger if you're Bongo and Quantum, right? If Wukong is matching the Gwen, just take the 4v4 and just try to burst out this Jinx as fast as you can, because Wukong is the one that's very, very strong. He's the one that's cleaning up these fights.
At the same time, though, I don't think that Skull Vezri did the right thing, itemizing fully for split pushing Gwen at this point in the game. Shibby, they need to be there for the team fights. They need to be able to work through Bruiser's health bar, and they don't have a Void Staff or Shadow Flame with which to do it. They decided to go for a 4th item of Rabadon's Death Cap, which, yeah, is a lot of damage, but is it going to be enough to take down these Red Squad champions or access the backline fast enough? Peace Pipe is just positioning so well now that they've found a clear way to go for a front to back. And look at this, Seahawks just caught out. They're dead. And I think that First Class might be able to end off of that. Vi's desperately trying to get down onto the Jinx. They will be able to do so. Bongo Bong combos up. But where's the rest of the team, Shibby? Bongo Bong's gonna die. Skull Vezri's also in stasis. And here comes the call of the forward god. It's a double-double. The Jinx is going to wipe through Master McNasty. And First Class yet again come out victorious.
And they've got a wave in the top side here. They're not going to risk trying to end the game. Instead, they're going to go. They're fine with the double inhibitor. Dragon's coming up in 20 seconds. They're going to put them on soul point at the 37.5-minute mark here. They're going to take the safe route. They're not going to try to end the game. They're going to cash out all the gold that they just got from getting 4 kills within the base here. And you saw that last-ditch effort from Master McNasty. They tried to get onto Peace Pipe. She had flash, she had ghost, she had everything. So you have one more opportunity if you're Blue Squad here. You have to strike now while the summoners are down, because if you don't, a repeat of that situation is going to happen in your base.
And while the summoner spells are down, Shibby, the same cannot be said for the Guardian Angel that the Jinx now has. That's a second lease on life, and I don't think that Master McNasty are prepared for that kind of protracted session versus a champion like the Jinx, especially because there's so much follow-up and so many other durable members of First Class to peel for this champion. And so, with another Dragon claimed First Class, they're right back on the push and power down bot side this time around. It's Solemn, Truist, and Bruiser all together. Jinx getting a last little bit of farm, but they too are going to rejoin their team and just just try to jam it into the base. Taking down this last inhibitor means that Master McNasty are going to be relegated. This is right before a Baron, so even if the game goes longer, Master McNasty can immediately turn around and you back.
Yeah, and this Jinx is 5 items, right? She's full build. She's got the Runen, she's got the LDR, she's got GA like you mentioned. She's ready to take on whatever Master McNasty's gonna throw at them here. This last turret is gonna fall. I agree with this choice for Blue Team to fight under their Nexus turrets. It's 2 of them before they're ready, but they gotta strike. The iron is hot, and this is your only chance.
And it's Chestai just getting hooked by Peptic. And look at the follow-up. A massive cyclone called the Forge God means that the box is worthless. And Master McNasty crumble. It's a beautiful play. And First Class are going to claim the game off of it.
Yeah, that was the only chance for Master McNasty there. They tried to get the combo off. Unfortunately, First Class's team comp scaled into the late game. When you've got an Ornn, when you've got a Jinx, when you've got a Wukong Nyarko at the 40-minute mark, you are sealing your deal for the victory, and that's exactly what they did. 13-26, 1-0 for First Class. They take it in this best of 3.
And you said it yourself, Shibby, in the middle of that game. You can miss all the hooks you want on Peptic's Blitzcrank, but it doesn't matter. You pick the 80 carry and the game is over. Master McNasty had no answer back to that last fight. And honestly, First Class just massively outvalued and outscaled a team that I honestly thought was going to do much better in the late game. They had a freaking Gwen, and the Gwen does nothing but scale. I mean, in most other lanes, she has a terrible laning phase. They are lucky that they had to go up against an Ornn of all things. I shudder to think what's going to happen to Master McNasty in future drafts if they don't get that same kind of angle.
Yeah, I like what they were going for, right? Master McNasty did a really good job drafting themselves a composition that says, hey, we're going to press this button, we're going to press this button, and we're going to press this button, and your AD carry is going to die here. But that one misstep around that Dragon Soul, right? What would have been Dragon Soul for them, that honestly insane bonkers play from Truist to say, you know what, I'm just gonna burst out Quantum and maybe I can get some cooldowns here. That was when the turning point was, because that was the Dragon, that was the Baron, that was direct injecting 5,000 gold into First Class's team, and by that point they were just way too far ahead. Everybody had ornaments, everybody was near full build, and now this team comp that really relies on this combo to happen, with Jinx picking up a GA, with a lot of these ultimate items, or sorry, the mythic items or ornament items coming out, a lot of these extended stats or increased stats with health and damage and everything like that. It's hard to tear through this team here, and unfortunately, there was just no more gas left in the tank for Master McNasty's team comp. You saw the last 2 times they tried the combo, they tried to do what they could. Not even the Gwen could get into the backline and follow up. Kaisa wasn't able to kill her instinct onto the Jinx, and she was just ready to clean up everything. So really well played from First Class, just sticking it through and understanding that, hey, as long as we don't give up Nexus, as long as we stay in this game long enough, our champions will simply outvalue them, and they come up with the win here. I would like to see a little bit more carry power. I wasn't a fan of this Kaisa build, right? PD, LDR, Navori, Kraken. It just felt like it wasn't suited or flexible enough to kind of deal with this tank front line. Oh my God, sorry. It was more designed for that assassination build onto the Jinx. And once that fell apart, I feel like her champion just kind of fell apart.
At the same time, with all these things going in favor of First Class, Shibby, we have to remember the classic statement about this game, right? Every League of Legends player wears a winter coat because they are ready for the snowball. They know it's going to come. This game was exceptionally even up until the 30-minute mark. Most people would kill for that kind of performance, and I think that Master McNasty have made a case that with a few variables going back in their favor, they could easily take games off of First Class, and they can even take them down in the series. Don't count them out just yet, and I think that because that is the case, we need to jump into this next game so I could get a little bit more of this content shoved into my eye holes, because it's been a wild time so far, and I can't wait to continue on in this series with you. We're going to throw to a quick break, guys. We're going to be right back with the second draft of the night.
Ending us before we try. Caught up and trying to find a problem. Why do we lose our minds? Ending us before we try. Fed up, we're trying to fix our problems. Why do we lose our minds? Ending us before we try. drawn in shapes in the absence of clouds, like shadow painting. I was wrong about all the things that they told me. Stay up late while we learn to be loud. Watch the colors fade in. I was born to make change in places we can't see. I can't see your hand in her hand. No, I can't believe I'm drowning on dry land. And I won't stop, won't stop. And I won't stop, won't stop. And I won't stop, won't stop. Can't hold me down.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Blue Otter League Platinum Division. We got First Class facing off against Master McNasty, and game number 1 certainly was a First Class finish. What a demonstration from Red side. And now on Blue, they're looking to make lightning strike twice. Master McNasty, they got to bring back some of that magic that they had in the early part of game number 1, but this time carry it through, answer back against the scaling that Blue squad could be drafting for themselves yet again. And let's see how they adjust here in this ban phase. So far, I'm liking the fact that the Jinx is off the table at the very least.
Yeah, they originally ended up banning that Xayah when they were on blue side. Surprised they're going to be willing to potentially give that up here. Nautilus being taken away by First Class here, maybe in anticipation of the Kaisa Nautilus lane. As I say that, though, Xayah also taken away. First Class will take the Thresh for themselves here this time around. Really high prio pick for whatever reason, it seems like. First Class, though, on blue side, taking the Thresh away. Master McNasty will still take the Rakan. I feel like both of these characters don't even realistically need to be together for them to be effective, right? Like Rakan, I've seen picked with the Zeri, picked with, things like the Sivir, the Varus, everything like that. Xayah as well kind of matches up with more of the engaged supports very, very well here. They are going to take that Wukong for themselves, going to be taking that away from First Class. And even though these teams have switched sides, I see a lot of the same champions on blue and red side.
Yeah, we won't be seeing the face-off between a Blitzcrank and a Thresh again. Honestly, it's kind of interesting that we're seeing the Rakan picked as a response to a B1 Thresh, because this is pretty classically a counter matchup. Rakan is going to struggle to get in because of the Flay. They're going to struggle to get out because of the Death Sentence. And the Aphelios alongside it means that First Class has a relatively stable laning phase.
Yeah, it's nothing to scoff at here. As First Class going to round that out with Maokai in the jungle here. I've personally been a fan of the full tank Maokai. I know some people like to draft it if they go like a very AD heavy composition. You'll still index into that demonic embrace. You just won't see demonic plus Leandries anymore. And if we get a Nyla here, I don't know how Master McNasty is gonna lane. Aphelios Thresh, no, like straight up. Aphelios Thresh just completely outrange, right? They have the AA advantage, they've got the gun advantage, right? With the Aphelios here. Like, unless First Class just play insanely bad in this bot lane, they walk up a little bit too far, they just don't play it right, they mess their wave up. Master McNasty, yes, they have a crazy deadly all-in, right? With the grand entrance, with the Nyla E into the full ultimate. Like, they could do a whole bunch of damage onto Aphelios Thresh, but that realistically, that should never happen if your First Class's bot lane. Master McNasty just slamming this 5v5 team fight composition, and you say, you know what? We went for this dive-oriented composition. We went for something that hinged on a lot of ultimates. Let's play something a little bit more flexible. Let's just play a meat grinder composition, a death ball, probably.
And I certainly do like death balls as a play-by-play caster. Frankly, it's my favorite thing to cast is the NA RAM. But at the same time, I don't like the Neela. I hate saying it because I love Neela. Neela's like my favorite AD carry, but it makes no sense given what we're seeing out of First Class right now.
AD carry, air quotes.
AD carry.
Right? Like it really, I wouldn't even, like, it is an AD carry. It's classified as a bottom lane carry, but that thing is like just a glass cannon bruise, like a glass cannon in the bot lane, right? It doesn't really fulfill some of those more traditional AD carry type of threats, right? It has a really big ultimate that brings people into you, by the way, right? The ultimate sucks everybody in so you can get all this life steal. You have a short range Q that, again, provides you a bunch of life steal, right? You want to be in the thick of things. You want to be in the pocket when you're somebody like Neela. Very anti AD carry esque behavior, right? Affilio, Zaya, all these other AD carries, they want to keep you at arm's length. They want to keep you very far away and damage you while you can't damage them, where Neela is the complete opposite. She thrives on these more death bally type of compositions. She gets all this life steal, the shield. Heck, she has an ability that pretty much negates almost all abilities in the game here. So she has to very mechanically outplay a lot of these abilities here. I like the Silas pickup into the Maokai, into the Thresh, right? Victor being picked up as a pseudo lane counter is nice for a first class here, but top lane counter pick has been left for Master McNasty. What will you pick into the Jax? You've got Camille, you've got Fiora, Gwen is on the board. Are you going to take a tank into it? Are you going to go Rennie, something more early game dominant? There's so many different options you can pick here. You could go for more Death Volley if you want to add to that, or you could just become a split push threat here. And
Ooh.
they're gonna just put in a massive shield onto the Neela, right? That's exactly what I'm thinking.
That's a great pick. I love the Shen here. I was going to say, I think that Master McNasty needs a top lane tank. Shen certainly fits that bill, and not only is it a top lane tank, it at level 6 and beyond is a full map tank, and that is one of the best things to have when you got a Neela, who, as you said, benefits massively from these shields. So I do think that this shores up a lot of what Master McNasty is going for. I still don't think that this is a particularly responsive draft to what First Class is doing, and overall, the raw unmitigated 5v5, like in terms of how this draft has gone, I think favors First Class. But certainly, Master McNasty is playing to their strengths, and they are continuing to develop, I think, into a team that really could threaten this game.
Yeah, I think Neela with shields absolutely busted, right? Obviously, she's got that double passive where she gives more exp over to her lane partner, but also she gets that massive addition to her shield, right? I believe it's 15% more after the shield is added on, so that's a little bit more shielding. It's a little bit more healing. If you're on the healing side, it's 7, I believe, percent more. But just the amount of safety that this Neela has in this composition, it feels like she won't be able to play. It feels like she wouldn't be able to do anything because there's so many roots and stuns and the Chaos Storm and the box and everything like that. But around these dragons, around these Rift Heralds, if this Wukong Cyclone goes in, if this Silas goes in, if Neela's got the Shen in the back pocket ulting onto her, what can you really do if you're first class? You have to throw down the gravity field. You have to throw down the roots. You have to peel back and wait all of these abilities out, all of these ultimates, and then maybe you can think of re-engaging here. But by that time, it's going to be up to potentially the Maokai or the Thresh to land a death sentence or a root. And even then, as long as Master McNasty get you out of the way, if they chunk you down low enough, they don't necessarily have to kill you. They just have to beat you long enough for them to get the dragon, to get the rift trail, to get the baron here. I like what they're playing here, but once again, I think first class they just have that scaling advantage for
Yep.
themselves.
And I'm kind of worried because while First Class certainly has handed off some of the roles in terms of now Maokai is going to be the frontline tank, most likely in the side of the jungle, and then we're going to have a Jax top for Bruiser 2012. It doesn't change the fact that as a whole, they are going to execute their game plan in a very similar style to what we saw in game number 1. Victor is going to drop a Chaos Storm in the way that Annie drops a Tibbers, right? And I think that given that they've already proven to themselves that they can defend against heavy dive and they can keep their Ophelio safe, we could just see First Class do exactly what they did in game number 1 and 2-0 the series.
Yeah, if this gets dragged out to the 30-minute mark, to the 35-minute mark, it could be really rough here. I want to see how first class end up playing this bottom lane here. Thresh Affilio super safe. I think Nyla and Rakan can do it, right?
Yeah.
If this Affilios mismanages the wave, if he pushes it a little bit too far into turret, if Rakan and Neela don't get low enough, right, from this poke from the Affilios, if they don't burst them out a little bit before they engage, if they're healthy, oh, it could be nightmare fuel for this Thresh Affilios here. So I want to see how this lane ends up playing out. Could be rough depending on the gun combo that Affilios has, right? I believe he starts out with the Calibrum, the long range gun. So you can put a lot of early poke onto this Neela before she hits that level 2, before she hits level 3, where she can start gap closing and really start to put presence in this lane with the Rakan.
And I think that the burden of first class keeping this bot lane stable is not only on Peace Pipe and what you're saying about wave management, gun management as well. I think it's very important on the Aphelios, but it also is on Peptic because sure, on paper, Thresh counters Rakan, but I've played a lot of these matchups versus good Rakans, and the thing that I've noticed in a lot of these cases is that you just have to have good reaction time. You have to make sure that you aren't erroneously using your abilities because if Thresh is just a sitting duck, you too are leaving your Aphelios open if you've burned your Flay, if you miss your death sentence. And so all of these dynamics mean that if Master McNasty truly believes themselves to be the better players, I think this is a perfectly fitting draft for them. If that first game was just a hiccup, they certainly can come back and take us to an even series or even beyond that.
Yeah, I want to see how Master McNasty kind of leverages that really good early game into a dominant mid game because they played very, very well. I would honestly say they were winning for maybe 30 to 32 minutes of that game one, right? Like they were playing very, very well. It was just that one dragon fight that flipped everything on its head and the game went spiraling out of control. And first class was just able to take advantage, right? A lot of big objectives were up. You getting team wipe means that they get the dragon, they get the baron, they get to push onto a lot of these turrets here. So as long as Master McNasty fail, to make some of those mistakes, right? If they don't do those again, if they just play their win conditions, play the team fight, keep track of where first class's heroes are or champions are in this case, then they can come out to a very, like you said, an even game here and make it 1-1. It's just they got to avoid those kind of, I'm not going to say game losing mistakes, but, uh, uh, just really bad misplays across the map.
This certainly is a game where we are either yelling about like beautifully coordinated team fights or we're like, oh my god, why is the Wukong going in? No! And there's kind of no in between. So once again, I'm happy. I think that I have clearly indicated throughout my weeks casting the BOL, be it this season or be the last shibby, that I basically look for nothing but blood because everything else makes me think and thinking is hard. That being
Fair.
said, I certainly hope that Master McNasty and First Class think a lot harder about the game themselves than I think about it in some cases.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see how a lot of these teams interact. The Silas pick definitely throws a bit of a monkey
Mhm.
wrench into the plan here as first class. They've got a nice bevy of ultimates for him to steal from, right? The Jax
Yep.
ultimate's really nice. The Victor ultimate, right? You can counter engage with the Maokai ultimate as well. If he throws his, you throw yours, and it's just a flat out draw. And I'm much more being the situation of Master McNasty's team comp. If we trade these wild growths, or sorry, it's not wild growths, the twisted advances, both from the Maokai and stuff, you've still got a Cyclone, you've still got a Quickness Grand Entrance, you've still got the Shen ultimate coming down with Taunt Flash. There's so many more ways for Master McNasty to play these team fights. They're completely comfortable burning one or two ultimates if they get a pick onto the Thresh, if they get a pick onto the
Yep.
Jax, and they still have more ammo in the clip to take another team fight here. While as first class, they realistically have one shot, right? They have to wait out all the ultimates, then they have to counter engage, or they have to get a pick off with this Aphelios Thresh plus the root coming down. Split push threat is there for the Jax, don't get me wrong, and you've got scaling with the Aphelios Victor. I just don't know if Master McNasty is going to allow another 39-minute game.
It certainly feels like it's a wild time on the Rift. Everything is flipped and turned upside down, Chibi. We got the Silas being the monkey wrench, even though there's a Wukong on a team. We see Master McNasty with the possibility to have more ammo in the clip, even though it's the Aphelios on first class's side. It's a wild time, and I'm super excited to get to this game. We're going to throw it to a quick break to wait out the rest of the spectator delay, and we're going to see you on the other side.
All we had and all we lost, all in time to speak of us. Heaven knows at least that we tried. All the naughty little things, 'cause we can't forget the better days. Playing on repeat in my mind. We see the world in a cold light. It isn't much, but it's all we needed. It's all we needed. With everything in its right place, we push away 'cause it's all we needed. To come crawling back to
Class is in session, folks. First class is in session, in fact. They came out in game number 1 and made a huge statement here in the BOL Platinum Division. Master McNasty are trying to answer back. They have gone with a very novel draft with which to do it, built very much around chest die on this Neela. And Chibi, I'm super excited to see this champion take to the Rift. I love playing with them. I love watching them. It's just a matter of making sure that they don't just get blown up in an instant, as Peace Pipe is on an Aphelios and Peptic on the Thresh will be able to zone out the Rakan early.
Yeah, we're gonna see what these guys can do level 1 and 2, right? It's gonna be really rough sale for Chestai and Seahawk here, but that AXP passive coming in, that extra little oomph, right? If they can get some lane control, they can get to that level 3. Peace Pipe really has to be solid on his wave management. I cannot stress that enough, Nyarko, because if you're pushed into their turret, under their turret, if Chestai decides to just slap the minion wave real quick, and then now you have a Rakan barreling in after you, it's going to be up to Pep to kind of dissuade some of this engagers. It's going to have to land the death sentence, going to have to be timing the flay against the Rakan here. I want to see what he's going to be able to do with this Thresh here. Peptic now on the side of Thresh. Originally was the Blitzcrank in game 1, said, you know what, whatever you can do, I can do better, Seahawk.
And we're also seeing a very interesting dynamic when it comes to summoner spells. It's double teleport for both sides and then bot side of the map, while Chestai is going to respect the Thresh and go for a cleanse on themselves. They are going to lack the ghost that you typically see on Neela, and because that's the case, it's actually Peace Pipe with a little bit more mobility. They themselves able to go ghost up against Seahawk on the Rakan.
Yeah, Disco Nunu Sums have actually been the go-to summoner spell choice for Nyla, funnily enough, right? You typically see Ghost Cleanse actually coming out from these guys because they have the dash in. They prefer the move speed to kind of walk you down and run you down. Flash, still a very fine ability, can avoid the jump in from Jax, can bait something like the Maokai into your team, right? If he twisted advances onto you, you flash back into your team, that Maokai should be dead to rights here. But here we see some of that lane pressure coming in already. Aphelios Thresh just putting in work right now, shoving them under and just hammering them with auto attacks, peppering them down. But Quantum has done a 3 camp of himself to pretty much just relieve some of this pressure.
And that does push off the Aphelios and the Thresh. However, I think what we saw right there is exactly what Peptic wants to do for the entirety of this laning phase. They get a hook down onto Chestai, so there's no follow-up. Seahawk just has to use their W to get in. Bongo Bong goes exceptionally low there in the mid lane. Sorry I didn't focus on that, Shibby. I did not expect the Victor to just stand there and jam autos into the champion, but it clearly is working, and now that's Red Squad getting pushed in basically everywhere.
You didn't miss anything. There's nothing to play-by-play there, right? It was just auto after auto after auto. I don't think anybody expected that. Now, you see what happens when you get peppered down with these autos in that bot lane. Even when you find one of these really good engages, you are just so low that if you follow up, you are actually giving yourself up to the team. As now Chestai and Seahawk, Truist is going to come.
Peptic just flashes forward, gets a Flayed down, so Chestai has to immediately flash away. That buys the space necessary for Truist to get in there. They pick up first blood. However, the Maokai is low, and Quantum is coming through for a counter gank. The Tree Man dies. It's going to go over to the Rakan, though. Peace Pipe and Peptic will just be able to kite this out.
You'll take that, right? Maokai getting
100%.
the kill, and then the Rakan getting that on the return kill. Now Peptic just been absolutely disgusting with these plays. Oh,
and
target
Peace
focus.
Pipe is in such a comfortable position now because that Seahawk blowing exhaust when Neela isn't there. That's a huge defensive summoner gun that would allow for Neela to try to access Peace Pipe with something like an Apotheosis post level 6. But right now, right here, I don't see any way that the Neela is going to be able to find space in this laning phase.
Yeah, and that could have been a kill for Peace Pipe if he ended up switching his target focus onto the Wukong here. It's so hilarious when you see the support like dump all of their abilities, all of their cooldowns and CC onto one character, and your AD carry is just hitting the other guy for no apparent reason. Unfortunate, right? It's not in the case where like you need to hit Rakan. He's not a big damage threat, but just I think you got to have tunnel vision on there. Like you said, gets the exhaust out nonetheless. And First Class are playing this early game pretty solid, right? Out trading in the solo lanes, out obviously winning it down in that bot lane, and even Truist getting a little bit of a head start on this Maokai here. Rushes the Boots of Lucidity, so it's not going to be too tanky, but it's going to have access to the Smite, the Flash, and all of his other abilities much, much sooner.
And I really want to feature Solemn right here, right now, because, yeah, Silas gets strong, but Silas is mostly strong during laning phase. And honestly, if the Victor is able to get these favorable of trades early, I don't think there's going to be a point where I say that the Silas is power spiking, regardless of how good the ultimates there are to steal on First Class's side. This is probably blue-sided favor early. And Master McNasty lost in a game that they had the lead in game number 1, right? Here, it's going to be a little bit more uphill of a battle, and I don't know if they're going to be able to take it. We'll see what else comes through. Right now, Bruiser might actually try to pressure kill down onto Skull Vezeri, who does have level 6, so a Ability Shield can come out, but that's a huge stun off the spin. And now Jax gets the solo bolo. They answer right back with all the CC that they were missing up until this point, and First Class opened up both side lanes.
Yeah, wow, just ends up solo killing the Shen in the top lane here. I'm surprised didn't take the back. I was expecting some impactful ultimates, but now they have to be wary. First Class, they can't just willy-nilly go in anymore because Shen is 6. He can instantly turn a 2v2 into 3v2 or something like that. As now Quantum is going to try to come in, relieve some pressure, but just look at where Peace Pipe and Peptic are. Yes, he dissuades some maybe further aggression, but realistically isn't able to do anything there. Trade will go in the favor of bot lane here, and they're also going to be able to get the shove, as now Rakan and Neela are going to have to back once again here. They're going to be able to shove the lane out of Philios and Thresh, crash it into the turret, and then get it back for themselves.
Maokai reset, so Truist isn't going to force an early dragon off of that play bot. They know Quantum is in the area, and yeah, while the Neela goes low and Seahawk has to kind of follow them back to the base, the Monkey Man can still make an impact, especially with Bongo Bong in the mid lane able to rotate through. So it makes sense that we're getting a relatively late opening to the dragon. Right now, I'm just looking at the map, trying to figure out where First Class is going to strike next, because right now, it just feels like their individual players are out-handsing Master McNasties.
Yeah, I mean, with everything that's transpired here, First Class have gotten themselves a nice 1,000 gold lead. Finally, they actually get the second wave into the turret here. I thought they were going to get that first wave, but I guess they're just unfortunately slow pushing it. Philios, if he doesn't have the Infernum, doesn't really have any way to clear that wave, as well as Bruiser and Skull are going to go for a 1v1 here. I'm pretty sure Jax wins it.
Yeah, that's a flash burnt by Shen, but they can't get out from under the leap strike, and Bruiser just gets another solo kill topside of the map. Now, this is a lane fully unlocked for First Class much earlier than expected, and yeah, the Shen will still be able to impact a lot of these lanes with their stand united, but you're ceding so much priority now over to a champion that scales like absolutely crazy, and there just isn't an answer anymore in that 1v1.
Yeah, Jax just manhandling this lane at the moment, like you mentioned. They are going to be able to pick up the dragon, Master McNasty, but they will trade that Rift Herald. And if you put that onto the Jax, if you could get another kill in that solo lane up there, throw that Rift Herald, give all that money over to Jax, he is going to be so far propelled forward. He is going to be a force to be reckoned with. And if he's that strong with the counter strike, with the ultimate. If this Neela wants to dive in like she does, she has to be wary of a 3-0, potentially 4-0 Jax in her face. And that's exactly what he wants. He wants the AD carry to come into melee range. He wants all these champions to come into him so that he can just bonk you and hit you with this massive ultimate, get so much armor down. As Skull is going to be able to taunt out here, but they want more?
They can't force that. Nature's Grasp burned for nothing, and Skull Veziri has to pat themselves on the back for that kind of play. It was the double taunt just zooming them back towards the tower. They get to safety now, and First Class has shown their hand. Now, Quantum knows where their enemy jungler is. They're hovering the bot side. We could see if Master McNasty wants to pull the trigger on some kind of big play now.
Like you said, Nature's Grasp is down. Truist is going to go into Bongo Tongo. He's Bongo Bong here. Oh!
And that's a stolen Nature's Grasp now, and Solemn's locked up. Seahawk with the quickness gets down onto the Victor. Chainslang comes through, and that blows the Man of Metal up. And meanwhile, on the back end of that play, Chestai also picks up a kill onto Truist. Beautiful rotation there from the bot lane of Master McNasty. And honestly, for as much as we've been praising First Class, they just failed the test.
Yeah, Master McNasty here are going to go for a little bit more here. Nice Moonlight Vigil and Flay. They might turn this around.
Yeah, it's a 2v3. Seahawk is going low. Quantum getting run down. The clone is not going to distract the Thresh. They know exactly who to go after. But that sentence isn't really available for quite a while. And that means that Master McNasty's bot lane is able to buy space before Peptic throws out a late Q. And that means they get to safety. Dicey situation for sure. Chestai could have fallen in response, but luckily everybody is extracted. And now we're in a much more even game state.
Both exhausts burn from each of the bottom lanes here. Support for support. They burn it onto the AD carries. I think actually Thresh ended up exhausting the Wukong out of that damage there. Truist, though, finds the ward that was placed onto his red buff aeons ago, right? Finally sees it. So they know where this Maokai is. But so far, Master McNasty, they have honestly been playing a pretty solid early game. Yeah, they went down a little bit, right, in kills and stuff like that, but the map movement, the plays, the objective trading, they're in a completely fine spot here. They're only down a couple hundred gold here. I'm just worried because First Class is Jax. That guy is farming, he's scaling, he's very close to that mythic item.
And I'm going to kind of go for a corrective here. You can tell me if I'm wrong, but I think that... Oh, never mind. We got to wait and see if Truce gets out alive. Bongo Bong is going to make that very difficult. Nature's Grasp actually buys enough space alongside the Bramble Smash, though, and the Maokai somehow just walks it off at like 300 health.
Phase Rush, baby. That's all you need. As Solemn is going to look to zone Bongo Bong here. Yeah, I mean, that's as much trading as you're going to get done. Not willing to drop the Chaos Storm on top of Bongo Bong's head here. But Truist has been playing with fire. He's not that tanky. He's opting in for that demonic embrace rush as well. So he's not going to have a lot of resistance. If he gets caught out in the wrong alley, in the wrong river, he could easily die to somebody like Bongo and Quantum Mirrors. Now, the stolen Chaos Storm goes down onto Solemn.
This is a tool blown pretty quickly by Bongo Bong, who now tries to go for the tower dive. It's just a trade at the end of the day, and I actually don't really think that super favors Master McNasty. Obviously, Victor is going to outscale, as we've been kind of harping on up until this point, but furthermore, this is a lot of tools burnt by the Silas right before Dragon comes up in about a minute, and because now that mid lane is unoccupied, Truist can just roam topside, drop the Rift Herald. Bruiser has a ton of gold in their back pocket, and while I don't think they could dive the Shen, First Class is securing this side lane before we could see her refocus back down towards that neutral objective.
I mean, you'll take the 1-for-1 there. Bongo Bong with that picks up the Roa at the 12.5-minute mark. Solemn still doesn't have his mythic online. You could argue that, yeah, Victor does get a couple more stacks of his passive here. I believe he gets 25 if he gets a kill on his passive here to get more towards those empowered abilities. But Bongo Bong takes the trade 1v1, gets the mythic, the first one of the game, actually, and just gonna get stacking that Roa sooner and sooner. I don't hate it from Bongo Bong. I think it was fine, but like you said, if you can't really give up too much more of those, because Solemn will just eventually outscale.
And that For as much as I was saying that Master McNasty is giving away control around this dragon, they have set up vision. They know where Truest is. They know that Blue Squad is trying to rush this down and interrupt the chance at dragon stacking for red team. And it looks like, honestly, because that is the case, Master McNasty doesn't even want to go for it. They are going to pass this way early. They know it's not going to be the most valuable Drake in the game for the Soul, because this is just a Hex Tech being taken down as the second one. Let's see what the Soul actually is going to be, though, because that really will impact the contours of this game going deeper. Well, it looks like it's going to be an Infernal Drake here coming out. So, as much as I said, you know, they're got to be happy that they're giving up that second dragon because Hextech isn't on the table. Infernal's also disgusting, particularly on Peace Pipe and Solemn. So we'll be watching out for that. Bruiser also going to benefit very nicely from this Soul. So if First Class continue to maintain a lead and that allows for them to play much more proactively around that neutral objective, this certainly can be a means by which they pressure Master McNasty come mid and come late.
Did I talk about the Roa Silas before I got muted or no? What was that? Was I saying anything?
Well, you mentioned the Roa Silas before, but then the whole dragon thing happened, and then Infernal Drake came out, and during that point, you weren't talking at all.
Oh, perfect.
You might not have to talk again. I gotta talk about this engage really quick. That's Acquaintance being activated. Peptic and Peace Pipe just have to flash to safety. Quantum is trying to force this. Moonlight Vigil comes down. That's gonna force the Stand United out of the shed in order to keep the Monkey Man alive. But Bongo Bong wrapping around means that this is a possible 4v2 on the bot side. We'll have to see what Peace Pipe can do with the Calorum and the Gravitum available. Truist is wrapping around from their Krugs, activating the Nature's Grass. Bruiser teleports in, and now the Jax is unleashed. Bongo Bong is taken down.
Bongo Bong goes down. Solemn ends up picking up Wukong in the river off of a rotation. 2 kills go over to First Class. Over aggression from McNasty here. They just get punished here. Now Peptic, he's gonna die for his over aggression.
Oh, and what a punishment. Peace Pipe, a sitting duck. Chest die gets the double dancer right back. And Shimmy, I'm telling you right now, this is another 30-minute game of pure evenness between these two teams.
Yeah, really, really well played from both sides, punishing each other's mistakes, punishing the over-aggression from both of these guys, overreaching really from both McNasty and First Class. After the dust has settled, Nyarko 1.5 thousand in the lead for First Class. And if game 1 was any indication of what that means, it means absolutely nothing.
It means Master McNasty's got a higher chance of winning, right? Because that was about the lead that they had prior to themselves throwing and losing the Baron, losing a dragon fight, and that was an exceptionally prolonged battle that both teams are once again very well equipped to go for. Skull Vesri is down so many resources right now on the Shen, but they're going to recharge in time for them to try to push for an Infernal Drake. Meanwhile, that is a very optimistic play from Seahawk, or Quad 417. This is their official name. Trying to quickness onto Jax, who just leap strikes away. And now, I mean, this is making the play around Rift Herald a lot more awkward for Master McNasty because they don't have the counter engage for the Rakan.
I respect it. I respect going for that. You know, keeping Bruiser on his toes. Like, oh man, this guy's a maniac. He's actually gonna chase me with quickness and all of this garbage here. Doesn't really get much with it though. The stolen Nature's Grass does come out.
The stolen Nature's Grass. Bruiser's almost dead, but they are able to just live inside of the gravity field that Colin provides. And now look at the Chaos Storm. It's just tearing through Master McNasty. Chest Die and company are so low. Seahawk's already dead, and Bongo Bong gets chased down by the Jax. There goes the Neela. Skull Vesri has to just try to defend the bot side alone. And so while Peace Pipe is being taken low, they get totted up and they fall. The cross map is so beautiful for First Class.
They get the tower. They get a bunch of kills in the top side. They'll even pick up this mid lane turret here. Yes, they lose the Rift Herald, but they gain so much more. It was 1.5k gold in the lead for First Class not even 2 minutes ago, Nyarko. That has skyrocketed 5,000 gold.
And they've blasted open the tier 1 mid and bot. This is a river fully in control of First Class, and this is coming 40 seconds before the next dragon spawns. This is going to get them up to a 2 count very easily, and I don't know if Master McNasty are in a position to contest it whatsoever.
Yeah, it's looking rough. right? Scaling most likely is going to be going on the side of First Class here. I don't think McNasty have even gotten their sort of dream team fight composition that they wanted, right? You want to go in with the Cyclone, you want to go in with the Nyla, with the Rakan here, have the taunt overboard, right? You just dive this composition. I haven't seen them necessarily execute on this composition. They were much better on that Galio Vi Kaisa dive, right? This dive, this kind of meatball, deathball dive that we have just isn't working because of Truist on the Maokai. He's dissuading them with the Nature's Grasp. You've got the Lantern, you've got the Chaos Storm, you've got the Gravity Field, all these Legos scattered around the map. And so how does McNasty actually get in here without taking just a bunch of auxiliary damage?
This is a bizarre fight for First Class to be taking, though. They're trying to defend versus the push top side of the map. Seahawk is able to get to safety. Bruiser's actually a little bit caught out. Chest Knight hits an apotheosis, and they're able to heal up off of it. Look at the burst damage. A shutdown. The Victor is gone. Peptic just has to flash over the wall, but two are already dead. And Skolvezru is able to push into the top for even more. It's a taunt on the Peace Pipe. Peptic is dead. And yes, that is dragging over to First Class, but at what cost, Shibby?
First Class lose many members. Your Truist wasn't even in that fight, though. He's looking for something. I think he's going to go for Bongo Bong.
I don't actually know if this 1v1 goes in favor of the Maokai. Bongo Bong certainly doesn't think so. They're going to try to rush in. Nature's Grasp is activated. Here's the teleport for Skolvezru to make this a 2v1, and the Stream Man just has to walk it off.
Oh, and the sapling setup gets interrupted by Sir Grompulus III here. So Truist isn't going to be able to do anything here. He's going to catch the wave, but he's going to give his life. That could mean Baron potentially. It's up in 15 seconds. If they catch him out, never mind. They're not going to do anything. I'm hyping it a little bit too much, Nyarko. Everything is fine.
The narrative, Shibby. The narrative.
Truist, though, walks out relatively unscathed. He's actually going to regen a lot of his HP back up here as we see a Shirelius being popped from Seahawk. That was probably a misclick. I assume he was trying to ward here. But after that's all said and done, did you see the power of that McNasty team comp? I just talked about them getting that dream team fight scenario where everybody's bunched up. You get a massive ultimate from the Neela here. You get so much HP. You get so much damage that all this burst that First Class has gets completely negated.
In this game, yet again, 20 minutes in, almost perfectly even, honestly. I think First Class is a little bit ahead, but if they keep overextending like Solemn currently is, it could be a rough situation all around. As much as I say that, though, the Victor just drops Chaos Storm and walks it off. Shibby, here's the thing, right? I have no clue how to cast Victors because every single time they're in my solo queue games, they run it down, and I just expect them to melt in that kind of situation. But no, here we're seeing Solemn pilot the champion beautifully, knowing their limits, taking the 1v1 and actually coming out ahead versus the Silas.
It feels so weird when you watch Victor like throw his abilities, right? It's so casual, right? It's like he expends a very low effort. He's got a pimp cane in his right hand, right? He throws that out. He has a laser on his arm, on his shoulder there. Even when he drops the Chaos Storm, it's not like crazy until the damage comes in. He just feels like a very laid back champion. So when you cast him, I was like, all right, he drops this, he drops that. Oh, he ends up killing somebody. Now Bruiser's going for the 1v1.
Be a 1v1 for much longer as Seahawk is doing a great job peeling for the shed, and now look at the 4-man dive bomb. Bruiser was desperately trying to get Skolvezru as a response, but they're unable to do so. However, we're seeing like a mini split push. It's a Baron play. It might be a throw, but the smite does land for Maokai. The question is, can Blue Squad get out alive? Here comes the quickness. Seahawk is playing back. If they just flash on in, as they manage to follow that up with a huge knockup off the Cyclone. Solemn blows up the Rakan, but now it's the threat isolated. Skolvezru is dueling it out with Truist. Quantum is already dead as well. Peace Pipe is firing off, but not enough to actually survive through this play. And now with the Maokai gone, it's only Peptic who survives.
The meat grinder that is Master McNasty's team comp is just tearing through First Class. It doesn't matter if Aphelios has red and white guns. It doesn't matter if the Chaos Storm is there. There is so much tankiness, so much lifesteal. They are just gonna plow right through you like paper mache. And with Bruiser down, that 5v4, the fight that you thought First Class could take, they get absolutely annihilated, and they only leave with one Baron on Peptic.
One Baron on Peptic, and that gold lead has shrunk massively from when the first big purple warm smite came through. Master McNasty, hold on. And honestly, they do more than that. They dig their heels in, and now they are in a position to respond to anything that First Class wants to do. They have a very telegraphed push with the one Baron buff available onto Peptic, and because that is the case, I don't think that we're going to get too many minions jammed towards Master McNasty's side. They will be able to receive these waves, farm up a little bit, and from there, go for another Drake contestation. The score is 2-1 right now. If First Class can pull the trigger and get themselves to soul point, I think this game opens up much more in their favor. But Master McNasty clearly have team fights for the ages, although they once again are just going to have the replay of what's happening topside. This time, though, unfortunately, Rakan can't get there in time. And now, look at the double pick off the cross map. It's Quantum also dead. That's a disaster, Shibby.
Yeah, Skull not able to survive in long enough for his ultimate to come up here. Can't get that dive that they want with this Nyla, with this Wukong, with this Shen ultimate. So Bruiser, once again, just absorbing so much of this pressure, right? Just putting out so much split push threat here. Peptic, though, is going to walk straight into his death, Nyarko.
All right, well, that's Peptic gone. Solemn also possibly getting collapsed on. We'll just be able to push down the tier 2. Honestly, Thresh could give their life at this point. I don't think it matters because First Class, as a collective Shibby, have now gotten themselves about a 4,000 gold lead, and they now reside at Soul Point.
Yeah, Infernal Soul is really nice. Solemn and Shrewis. I don't know how you feel about this build coming out from the Maokai here. Imperial Mandate into the Demonic Embraces, going for that full utility here, proccing it with the E right now, and they are. Chestai might be able to 1v2.
I mean, certainly that build is doing something because Truist still is tanky as all get out. Skull Vesri is pulled into this mid lane play, but Bruiser just obliterates the needle on the back line. And now, where is Seahawk going? The Rakan's got no one to defend them, and they too will fall. Bruiser going to lock up Skull Vesri even deeper into this one, allowing for Truist to land the killing blow, and Bongo Bong is left all alone to scamper back down the mid lane as Quantum has to deal with a push bot. First Class, yet again, fine purchase, and now that gold lead is one that you almost can't come back from.
6,000 gold right now. It looked so good, right? Chestai got the Shen ultimate. That thing completely enveloped her health bar here with that shielding. But after that went away, after it all, the dust was settled, Bruiser comes in with a massive flank. Absolutely pops Chestai, like you said. And once she dies, this composition seemingly falls apart because you don't have that 80 carry quote-unquote threat here. As top tower is going to go down. Bongo Bong, what's the 1v2?
It's going to be a 2v2. Make that a 3v2. Make that a 3v3. Teleport's being channeled. Clearly, First Class wants to end it right here, right now. That's going to be the Nature's Grasp activated. Skull Vesri locked up. The death sentence and brought to their execution. That's Bruiser with a double-double. Chestai just has to sit behind this inhibitor and watch the base fall. Wukong has to relocate from the mid lane, but now it's up to Master McNasty to just not lose the game at this point in time and mount a defense inside of their own base. Right now, First Class just continue to inch ahead off of play in and play out that, frankly, Master McNasty's just not able to answer back against.
It's so wild too, because for a very solid 5 to 10 minutes nearly, right? Master McNasty was getting these team fights. They were getting this dream death ball composition rolling, and then one mistake here, one botched fight there, and First Class once again springboard themselves in the gold lead, right? It was 5,000, 6,000, now it's nearly 7,000 in the gold lead for First Class here, and it just feels like once First Class get rolling, once First Class is there to kind of catch that pseudo throw of a team fight, it just feels like McNasty's composition doesn't get any better, right? They have to go for this, though. Peace Pipe is clearing these wards. He will die here.
Yep, Cyclone activated, and I don't even know why Peace Pipe decided to flash. You have a fight in 2 minutes that you need to take around Soul, and for some reason you decide to burn your flash on the vague hope you get out alive. It doesn't make sense to me, although Bruiser could be getting a revenge kill through onto Bongo Bong here. Skull Vesri has to go for the shortest range Sand United I've ever seen in order to get that champion out alive, and this Jats is in fact a menace. First Class have lost some crucial tools, but I don't think it's going to be enough to stop them from taking the Infernal Drake.
I'm surprised the Baron setup isn't there. If you're a team that's this far ahead, 6,000, 7,000 gold, you tab over, you see you have the item lead. Baron is up in 10 seconds, right? Start setting it up at the 1 minute mark. Why are you even going towards that dragon? Yes, it's Soul Point, it's Infernal, but you are more than happy to trade one Infernal Dragon over for complete Baron control, for complete Baron taking here. Instead, they want to have their cake and eat it, Niarco, and so Peace Pipe goes down, their Baron setup isn't there, and now they're looking to pressure with all these Maokai saplings. Yes, it's going to be annoying to trudge through these, but you just put yourself at risk not getting any of these objectives. Aphelios walking towards that dragon right now on that bot side. First class is split. I don't know what they're doing.
At the same time, Skull Vezri is also split, and in Nature's Grasp is going to root up multiple Red Squad members. Bruiser dives into 4, is taken low, and is eventually shut down, but here is the box to buy more space for First Class, and chest dive being gone means there's no damage from Master McNasty. There goes Skull Vezri. Bongo Bong can't fight any purchase versus Truist, and we just witnessed the end of the game in Series Shibby. It was messy, but First Class bring it together, and ace Master McNasty.
A slap of the wallet was all they needed. Despite not having Peace Pipe for the first 10 seconds of that fight, Victor, Maokai, and Jax put in all the damage, all the work they need. Peace Pipe comes in on cleanup duty with this Aphelios, able to end that fight pretty decisively here. I thought Master McNasty had a window there to turn the fight. They ended up killing Bruiser, but they burned every single tool down on God's green earth to try to get him down here, as now the 2-0 comes in. Master McNasty, one last base attempt. First Class will take it 2-0, Nyarko.
And it's just so unfortunate that we see Master McNasty come alive with a brilliant pick on the Peace Pipe after they already gave over like 10,000 gold worth of kills to First Class in between Dragon 3 and 4, right? Because there's a case to be made that First Class massively bungled their call around the simultaneously spawning Baron and the kind of delayed spawn on the Dragon. But at the same time, it doesn't matter when the wall diff is that high. You can afford to make some sloppy plays here and there because your resilience during a team fight means that your 4 members are batting for 5. And, you know, eventually Peace Pipe does come to the Rift. And from there, Master McNasty find themselves completely obliterated and they lose their base because of it.
Yeah, really well played. First Class just drafting long team fight, late scaling compositions, just understanding that, hey, we're going to put you on a timer. If you don't end before X amount of minutes, we're just going to steamroll you over. This Jax obviously got really far ahead against the Shen, further than he should have, amplifying his early game power spike. He had the Divine Sunderer, he had the Bork, he had the Spirit Shojin well before he realistically should have had it. He should have been around the 2.5 item mark, if we're being realistic here. But unfortunately, Shen died a couple times in lane. Rift Herald got popped top lane. A lot of gold got put into Jax. Jax ended up picking up some very opportunistic kills, both top and mid, and was able to split push all day long. He then finally started joining some of these team fights and was just able to kind of take these over. You saw how much effort it took from Master McNasty's composition to even bring him down. And by that point, you've got a Chaos Storm, you've got Maokai coming in, and by the way, Aphelios coming in ringside after everything settled. He comes in with the Calibrum, he comes in with the Infernum, these long range guns. He's able to clean everything up afterwards. Really good team comp. I think First Class played it well, but there were a lot of moments where Master McNasty, they could have ended the game, I would say. Not necessarily that, but they could have taken over the gold lead. They were in positions where they were much more powerful, both in game 1 and game 2.
And it just does not result in a very close a very close result, unfortunately, which is sad because, like you're saying, I think that Master McNasty put up a fight. These were teams that were very evenly matched, and it's, you know, kind of a statement on the fact that best of 3s don't mean everything, right? In another world, you could easily see a 2-0 for Master McNasty off of those 2 games. It was just that in some of these very close moments where there were some claustrophobic decisions to be made, they were unable to really kind of shoulder the burden and make the correct calls. In First Class, when they too failed at some of their macro, they had a cushion of gold at that point in time to where they were able to just go for fights that felt very forced and still either recover or come out completely ahead and win the game off of them. At more of both of these guys on the Rift, and I think that at the playoffs, which means that we will opportunity in the future.
Yeah, really well played from both of these teams. I'm excited to cast playoffs, Nyarko. That's where we start seeing a lot of these goofy strats, a lot of these weird off meta picks start coming in, and that's where teams start really getting creative. And if we're in Blue Otter Platinum, right, like these guys are gonna get off the wall crazy. And some teams I've seen like 6 seed teams win, I've seen 5 seed team wins, right? Sometimes more often than not, it's never just the 1 seed that ends up winning outright here. It's some team that you didn't expect, or some team that amped their way up through the playoffs here. So Blue Water League probably won't disappoint. I'm excited to start playoff coverage, like you said, next week here. I think majority of the teams are pretty much locked in. I think Master McNasty said that they had to win this game, they had to win this series to kind of control their fate and whether they're in or not. But I think after this series, I think a lot of the games have concluded here. So eventually we'll probably get some sort of playoff graphic or anything like that coming up within the next week here. And we'll get a really good look at what that playoff picture is going to look like.
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in for what, as Shibby is alluding to, is the final week of regular play here in the Blue Water League Platinum Division. It has been a roller coaster so far, and we are only down a few hills. There's plenty more of the ride left to go, a lot of loop-to-loops and whatnot to deal with. And I'm sure that First Class and Master McNasty are going to be architects of many of these crazy plays in the future. So make sure, if you guys are a fan of either of these teams, to drop a follow and continue to stay up to date with everything that's happening in the BOL, because it's not only the Platinum League that's wild, guys. We got the Masters League above us, we got the IBS and Gold Leagues below us, and honestly, they are all crazy. They are helmed by some of the best casters and producers in the business, and honestly, it is an honor to be part of this project. But for tonight and from us, that is everything from us. We will return very shortly in the next day with some more broadcasts, and if you want to see us particularly, either drop a follow for us on Twitter. I think that all that social information is down below us, but you can also just come back next Tuesday for more wildness in the BOL, and this time it's going to be for the Platinum Division playoffs. See you guys then.